Okay, people. So I checked out Perfect Addiction, right? It's a new Prime original film. It's directed by Ca- Castille Landon, written by Stephanie Sanditz, and it's based on a book by the same name from Claudia Tan. The film is produced by Jeremy Bolt, Robert Colts, Aaron Levitz. It's executive produced by Richard S. Wright, Lindsay Ramsey or Rami, Martin Moskovich, Eric Lehman, assistant produced by Irana Koppel, and line produced by Christoph Solek. Music is Jonathan Sanford, Morgan Halsey, and Anne Hummerman edit it. Nancy Nair, Anna Leanne Slater are on casting. Production design is Joanna Pezinka and Gregory's Palatakowski. Milena Janovok are on. She handles costume design, makeup, and hair is Monica Robel Pajor and Kladna Goriskaska. Yeah, I butchered those. Our cast. We have got Sienna Lane, played by Kiara Madeira. Okay. Her sister Beth is played by Bree Winslow. Her boss and trainer is Julian, played by Manu Bennett. There is then her best friend Brent, who is played by Nicholas Duvernay. He's husband, fiance Evans is played by Ryan Bowen. Then there is Jax, who is played by Matthew Noszka. Kayden, who is also Brent's brother, half brother, step brother, whatever it is, played by Ross Butler. Yeah, that's probably the main thing. And then there's Athena, played by Cecilia Deutsch. Okay. So the gist of this is it's following successful boxing trainer Sienna Lane, who discovers that her boyfriend Jax, the reigning champion, has been cheating on her with her own sister. She sets out to get revenge by training the one man capable of dethroning him, his arch nemesis, Kayden, which it's all a little, yeah, it's a little goofy. Right now, it's a romance novel, right? That's what it's based on. So if you like those sort of things, this will work for you, you know? But there's a lot of shit that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, that's the thing, right? So Jax is the reigning champion. Champion of what? Right? This is the thing. There's nothing that's ever kind of it's meant to be. It's MMA, MMA, right? Because that is the thing right now, right? UFC is so popular that everyone's trying to incorporate it into what they're doing. But a lot of times it's done in just this goofy way that doesn't really make any sense. You know what I mean? Because she's meant to be this successful, great trainer. She's 18, right? She's never fought. And don't get me wrong, right? There are definitely some great trainers, great managers. We've seen it across the board in boxing, football, American football, and MMA, of people that are great trainers, great managers who have never actually fought at an elite level, right? Arsene Wenger, one of the best Arsenal managers ever, right? Was not a great football player, right? And we've just seen it. We've seen it. But, right, there is something when you hear these people talk, right? There's this understanding, and you just get a lot of goofy bro science. That's essentially some of the shit that you get heard. Right, there's a bit where she blindfolds this fight and she's like, okay, it's all about sensing where your opponent is and blah, and it's just like, okay, right? Now listen, there is something about understanding where your opponent is, but that's understanding the reach, right? And how you use your weapons. There was nothing about foot movement, right? There's nothing about foot movement, head movement, which is the key components of defense. Do you know what I mean? Like being able to, move out the way, being able to cut off the ring, the cage, wherever you're fighting, right? So that's the thing. It's MMA. You never saw any wrestling training, any jiu-jitsu training. And when they were on the floor, no fucking technique, right? You saw her roll the guy off her, right? Which, listen, this can happen, right? Small people can beat big people. It's about using the momentum of the body. It's about using technique, right? To off balance someone, and then you can maneuver them. Nothing was technical about nothing was set up. It was just like boom, flipping someone, and it's just like that's not, it's just not gonna happen. It's not going to happen, right? There's these fights. Well, no, training, right? When they're training, they're going at it, right? Which, firstly, we know now that's not how you train, right? That's not how you train productively, right? Back in the day, the early days, right? You'd always hear about these gyms, shoebox, you know what I mean? Places like that where they would go to war, you know what I mean? The Lions Den, all of them spots. That isn't it's not great, right? And the veteran fighters will say, you know what I mean, oh man, we learned that wasn't the best way to do it, right? At the beginning I was getting so many injuries, and but we developed and we've got these new techniques and blah 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 blah. None of that is here. None of that is here. Don't see a mouth guard in training, right? And she's going like, hit me, and it's just like, honestly, no, dudes aren't training with girls like that, right? Listen, I was never professional. I've trained a lot, right? And I've got belts and whatnot, and so I've been in the gym and I've taken the new fighters under my wing, right? I've helped out training with them, and you train with girls, right? And it's there's a difference with training with girls, right? It's all about movement. It's about technique. You're not throwing hard. That's insane. You know what I mean? Because listen, people can be trained, as skillful as what, but there is a difference between men and women, bone density, all of that jazz, right? And you're not trying to hurt your training partners. So you're watching this, and it's kind of like fighting is in 93. That's what this feels like, because there is all the things that we know about fighting, about training, about, recovery, all of that jazz, and none of it, none of it is incorporated into this. It's very, very bizarre. People getting hit, right? In the actual fight scenes, people getting hit. There are no cuts, no bruising. You're just like, yo, what? Now, if you watch fighting, right, you understand. At the end of fights, people can look messy, right? If you saw Justin Gaethje against Rafael Fiziev recently, Fizie's face was fucked up. Now, Gaethje, definitely not as marked up. But there was a little bit of, bruising, blood, all of that kind of jazz. It's not in these fights, right? Not in these fights. There is a broken rib situation. Can I just tell you how painful a broken rib would be, right? You are not fighting with a broken rib because breathing is difficult. Moving is fucking difficult. So you're not being able to hold a proper stance. You're not going to be able to throw punches, throw kicks. And the first shot you take is you're done. You are done. There's no getting up. Now, they're fighting in this underground thing, but even in that, it's not just not happening. It's fucking stupid, right? And also with the underground thing, we see the police raid it one time. Now, this thing happens in the same spot. So it's just, you'd be like, if they're not moving around, right? Which these underground things used to do back in the day. It wasn't in the same spot over and over again. You'd move around, right? But if it's in the same spot, the police would just always come, right? They know what time like there's queues outside. So it's not discreet. You know what I mean? It's not discreet. So it's just like police would be there all the time, you know? Hey, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Also, there's amateur, right? There's amateur and the regionals. Before you might go to the UFC, you might go to Bellator, you might go to PFL, One Championship, any of these things, right? There's the regionals. And there's also the smaller organizations like LFA, Cage Warriors, Fury FC, and the like that, right? So there's no real understanding why they're doing this underground thing, and they're not going amateur. They're not going, all right, I'm going to try and get into Fury. I'm trying to get into the LFA, and then, hopefully I'll get a bigger contract. We're not hearing any of that, which would be the talk, right? It makes no sense, right? The story is very just from the giddy up, because you've got Sienna kind of narrating and being like, so yeah, and we did blah, 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 and my boyfriend this, and so you automatically know where this is going, right? You know where it's going, right? But again, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. right? It's like, yeah, it's a goofy story. But when I say it's a goofy story, right, it's just that typical story from a romance novel, right? Because in this, it's meant to be like strong female decides to break away from this controlling dude and then make her own, but it's just like it's not, right? Because you have her with one guy, then she just gets with another guy, right? And here's the thing: when you're in a gym, you're not trying to fuck everyone else in the gym. Yeah, I mean that's mad unprofessional, creates a weird atmosphere, and especially if you're the trainer, right? That's some creepy shit. You're fucking your students, your you know what I mean, your fighters. Like this is some weird shit, right? But it's this whole thing of I can train you to beat this person, but there was never really any actual game planning. Right, he does this, right? There's these tells that he does. So this is what we're gonna do. When he goes this, we're gonna go like there's none of that. And you see it, right? This is the other thing. In fighting, we have now seen these instances, right? When Connor beat Jose Aldo, you saw footage of him practicing backstage, right? When Aldo comes forward, I'm going to step to the side, I'm going to land his hook, right? Recently, when Alexa Grasso beat Valentina Shevchenko, again, she's practicing. When she does the spins, I'm going to step to the side, take the back, right? So we know this happens. This is a thing. We've seen the training footage, all of this, right? There's none of that incorporated into the film. I will say this, right? If you like stuff like Never Back Down, you will like this. If you liked Bruise, the Halle Berry film, you will like this. Though I do feel Bruised was a better film, right? Because you actually, even though that's still not completely the best film, right? At least, you had the damage, you had proper actual kind of training with the foresight of, well, this happened, so we need to work on this, we need to do this, all of that's we do not get that in this film, man. We do not get it. So it's like crazy. And at the end, there's a bit where she's like, I realized that this had to happen because I do this. And then when there's this conversation, it's just like, oh, I should forgive and blah, blah. And it's just like, wait, we just had this whole bit of you going, I understand because, I do this thing and I have to now do this thing. So it's just like, wait, what are we doing? What are we saying? It's just shit that make no sense. Also, the last thing, when you're training, you build up a sweat. Never see people fucking sweating. Only one time do we see someone sweating. But you build up a sweat when you're moving and you're fighting and you're training and exertion. This is fairy tale MMA. Especially this knockout we see. We see a brutal knockout, which was based on a fight I want to say it was 2020, right? I feel it was 2020. This crazy kick, which, at the time, there was always the thought of, oh man, oh yeah, someone's doing this, you could do that. But it is like the kind of thing that you would only see in a video game, right? It trended, it blew up. You know what I mean? Now, they copied this kick for this film. And when this happened in real life, homie was down for a long time, because this is a brutal kind of knockout. In this, dude gets up pretty much, you mean, straight away. Now, he lost the fight, but he gets up and he's just like, he ain't getting up straight away from that. That's no, that's not happening. That's some silly shit. So this is Hollywood. This is fairy tale MMA, right? But again, if you like Never Back Down, if you enjoy those sorts of films, you know, the kickboxer sequels, you know what I mean, all of them things, that's your jam, then yeah. Then this will definitely work for you, people. So Perfect Addiction is now out on Prime Video. Yeah, people, there you go.